Hello and welcome to Folio Weekly Entertainment Magazine. I'm Rob Nicholson, and today I'm excited to have with me none other than Tom Kroom from Green Mustard Entertainment. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning from it's just now sunrise here in beautiful Edmonton in Alberta, Canada. How are you?
I'm doing great. I was just going to say, where are you calling us from? Um, just one of the many things that has become of Green Mustard and WasabiCon. That's what we're excited about coming up in 2 weeks. Or about 2 weeks is going to be on the 15th and 16th of October, right here at the Prime
hmm
Osborne. And Tom, could you give, for those that don't know the whole story, maybe a digest of how all this came to be and how we're together right now this morning?
Sure. So it's a fun story that I tell on the road. In 2001, I met a very pretty girl that liked Sailor Moon. So at that point, I decided, hey, I must like this same exact Japanese cartoon too. And as I got into the culture with her at that time, saw it was a very anime and Asian pop culture and video games. It was a very vibrant and diverse group because I prior to that came from Star Trek fandom. I was Sci-Fi did an interview with me about my first Star Trek convention, and that was back in not to age myself, the '80s. But then I learned about anime. Yeah, it's back in the before time. But yeah, so we got into anime, and I created an anime club. So in today's day and age, everybody connects online. We have you have Facebook for kind of your elder millennials. You have Discord. You have all these other ways that you can connect with fans. Back then, we didn't have that option because it was the age of dial-up. So we would connect in person, and that's how we would watch anime that was coming from overseas. So I created a club called Wasabi Anime. And when I created that club, it was the idea that my friends and I, and we'd introduce other fans into a way to kind of meet up and get to watch anime together. And when we did, the first mission with Wasabi Anime was to be a club. And so what we did is we actually put together a packet for clubs to start forming and clone what we were doing. And we told them they were allowed at that time to use the Wasabi Anime name. So you had Wasabi Anime Tampa, Florida. We were Wasabi Anime Orlando because we were the original. You had Wasabi Anime Jacksonville. You had Wasabi Anime Green Cove Springs, West Palm Beach, Treasure Coast. There were these clubs all over Florida in the early 2000s. As we were doing this, the core group of us that created it realized we enjoyed doing stuff at events. It was basically the equivalent to me as doing community theater because I've done I was on a TV show called Sequest in the 90s, and I did film and television. So it was kind of a creative outlet for us to do fun stuff at conventions. So we started hosting panels and programming at other conventions at that time. So it was like a JCon, the Japanese Animation Convention in Orlando. We hosted the overnight programming for Anime Weekend Atlanta in Atlanta. We even showed up the first time Wasabi Anime showed up in Jacksonville was in 2004 under previous ownership. There's a convention called Ancient CityCon, and they took place at what was then called the Adams Mark Hotel. And Wasabi Anime ran all of the anime programming at that event for years. You flash forward, and around 2007, somebody asked Wasabi Anime, my friends and I was working for Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida at the time, to see if we wanted to host programming at their convention. And it was kind of a distance. It wasn't like, Florida, let's just drive to Jacksonville or, drive to wherever. And they confused us and offered us money. So at that point, we decided we had to start acting like a business, and that's where Green Mustard came from. It's kind of a indirect term to refer to wasabi and the Wasabi Anime Club name. So we created Green Mustard Entertainment, and from that point, we started launching what we wanted to be kind of a different breed of conventions because there's so many conventions out there that are about everything. And a lot of them are great. Don't get me wrong. Like we work with MegaCon, and that show is a buffet. You go there and you can get a little bit of everything, whether it's sci-fi or Harry Potter or anything, but you need a smaller scale version of those shows. We kind of call those shows generic cons, which is if you're about everything, then you're kind of about nothing. So it's not really about connecting people. So when we started looking at how we were going to design our conventions, we launched a show in Orlando, Florida Anime Experience. We launched a show that traveled which was InvaderCon, which was specifically about Invader Zim. And then we decided to create Wasabi Anime's own convention, which was going to kind of be the home of our mindset of everything that we saw in Asian pop culture. And that's where WasabiCon came from. Not just from the fact that we wanted to be our own convention, but let's be quite honest here, from laziness in naming. We took our own club and just slapped con at the end of it. So when we looked at each one of these events, one of the things that we see success with, and I've worked with shows all over the world, Anime Expo in Los Angeles. I work for the Fan Expo HQ company in Form of Pop Culture, which is the largest Comic-Con company on the planet. They have 17 shows this year. Case in point, I'm talking to you from Edmonton in Alberta, Canada, and this is the 12th city I've been in this year. So when we looked at WasabiCon, though, we launched it at the Marriott South, it's now called the Marriott South Jacksonville. Back then, it was the only Marriott in Jacksonville in 2012, with the idea that geek culture was kind of at that time, back in 2012, underrepresented in Jacksonville. But I knew just from going all the way back to 2001, when I created Wasabi Anime, Jacksonville, Florida was one of the first clubs, groups that reached out and said, hey, we want to do Wasabi Anime in Jacksonville. So there was a Wasabi Anime Jacksonville club in 2001, and just as close south of you guys in Green Cove Springs. So we know the fandom was strong there. So we launched the show, put it together in a matter of months back in 2012. The idea being to kind of connect fans of anime, cosplay, and gaming. And what we saw was, we had projected ourselves at like a couple hundred people because we put it together last minute as a one-day event. And we got over 500 people. And, we're very transparent about our numbers. They're listed our entire history on our website, wasabicon.com/Jax. And that was kind of the, wake-up call for us. A couple of years in, we started doing our local marketing that we do. And in doing so, we discovered even more about Jacksonville, Florida. Back then, you couldn't go, more than a couple miles without tripping over a tabletop gaming store. You guys used to have a plethora of them. And after we created WasabiCon, we kind of saw the culture grow with our show at that point. If you look now, you have barcades, that weren't there when we opened. You have, video game stores that weren't there when we created WasabiCon. So we saw, kind of a causality or, even almost just a growth pattern in hand that as our pop culture convention started growing since 2012, we saw the city kind of grow with it, which has been an amazing either coincidence or side effect, call it what you will, but it's helped our show grow. And we like to think that we've helped the community in Jacksonville grow. So, TLDR, met a pretty girl. She liked anime. I decided I must like anime for, whatever reasons. Built an anime club, 2007. The anime club became a pseudo hobby. In 2010, it was a corporation. And WasabiCon is now, our flagship event for Green Mustard Entertainment that we own and operate. It's grown so much. It actually has a sister show now in Portland, Oregon. So WasabiCon PDX. And just to show the pattern of where these events are going now, that event happened over the summer, and we had to put a capacity on it. And we sold out the entire event. There were over 5,000 people that came to that event. And that's still just a hotel-based event. Whereas here in Jacksonville, Florida, we've taken over the entire bottom level of the Prime Osborne Convention Center. We're using every square foot there for over 10,000 feet of tabletop gaming and 80,000 feet of exhibitors, and which are, it'll, by the time this airs, it'll be announced because we just got to finish certain paperwork pieces, but we sold out all 80,000 square feet. We have hundreds of exhibitors and artists in that floor, including some major companies that are coming in to showcase. We're gonna exciting things we're doing this year to kind of get the tone going different from previous years. We've partnered with a group called Senpai Squad, which are based in Houston, Texas. And what they do is they host these amazing after parties at events like Anime Expo. They did one for MegaCon this year and all over North America. But that kind of brings us back to the core and the goal. We made two main focuses when we created WasabiCon and it grew. Number one was the show has to be about something, as I mentioned earlier. And our show is specifically about anime, cosplay, and gaming. That's it. We focus on those three facets. If you're coming there looking for any one of those, whether it's tabletop or video games, we've got you covered. Whether you're coming in costume, we have numerous competitions throughout the weekend. And anime, I mean, we have and have had every single year. This is our 10th year, the strongest anime guest list of any event in the region. I mean, I dare to say that in some cases we sometimes rival our friends over at MegaCon, but it's kind of a friendly competition of who gets who first when we get certain actors. You know what I mean?
Well, I do, and now that you bring that part of it up, there's some heavy hitters on this WasabiCon coming up in Jacksonville.
Well, in our industry, I talk about this a lot. Consumer-focused media events, which is the boring way to say Comic-Con or Pop Culture Con, there are two things that we are selling. Number one is nostalgia. People love going to these things to, remember the things that they love. So nostalgia is the first thing that we sell. The second thing is, I lift the term from Men in Black, is what I call new hotness. What is the newest, hottest thing that we all care about right now? So it's either nostalgia and new hotness. And if you look at our guest list, we try to balance that. So nostalgia, we came in heavy. We have the voice of literally one of the most iconic anime characters of all time, which is Miley Flanagan, who's the voice of Naruto. You still can't walk into a Hot Topic without 100 t-shirts for that character. And kids still, wear orange jumpsuits, headbands, and run with their hands behind their back. So the fact that she's coming to Jacksonville, Florida is huge. And then you kind of segue down. We have Josh Greeley, who is Tokiyami from My Hero Academia. But, older fans will remember a few years ago at its peak, there's an extremely popular anime called Yuri on Ice. Yuri on Ice became so huge that in the Olympics, people were using the song from it and impersonating the ice skating, performances from an anime into the actual Olympics because it became such a mainstream piece for fans of that sport. Then from there, the number one anime on the planet over the past year has been a show called Demon Slayer. As a matter of fact, Demon Slayer Mugen Train, the movie, is the top grossing anime film of all time. And we have the voice of Zenitsu, Alex Lee, coming to Jacksonville for the first time. Then if you try to keep up, if you watch Netflix, one of the top Netflix anime is a show called Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. And Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, so this one specifically is really neat as it connects to us in Florida. So Jojo's is a series about a person always named Joe, or a derivation of the name Joe. And over history, all these characters that are related find out they have these powers, and they have their own unusual adventure because of their connection to this. The current Joe is the first time in the history of the anime, which has been going on for a couple of decades, that they decided to do a female Joe, and her name is Jolene. And what really makes this interesting for us, it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean is the series on Netflix, is the beginning of the series takes place in Port St. Lucie and Cape Canaveral in Florida. So we're talking about, let's connect the dots here, a Japanese animated series that is created and written in Japan that is now dubbed into English and run on Netflix in the United States, and it takes place in the state of Florida. I couldn't think of a better idea to try to connect the dots with anime than bringing in Kira Buckland, who is the voice of Jolene from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
That is amazing.
Yeah, and it is really weird to have Port St. Lucie, Florida, mentioned in an anime in Japan. Like Cape Canaveral, I understood, but sure. Port St. Lucie was unusual. And then kind of rounding it out. Just this past season, and it just wrapped up the spring season, summer season of anime. A brand new series called Spy Family came out, and it's stylized when you see it written. It's Spy X Family, and Spy Family is the story about a spy, a super spy, James Bond type, an assassin, and then a young child who is a psychic who somehow get thrust together, and they're trying to save the world. And it is taken off. It is probably the most popular title you can see out right now. And we got the mother, the assassin, Yor Forger, Natalie Van Sistine is the English voice of that character, and we're bringing her to Jacksonville. So to recap, we're bringing one of the best known legendary anime characters of all time, Naruto, to Jacksonville, Florida for her first time. And all these people appearing, this is their first time.
Oh,
Then you have your transitional piece, which is Josh Greeley, which is from My Hero Academia and Jojo. So we've gone nostalgia to new hotness / nostalgia. Then you have localized nostalgia or hotness in the form of Kira Buckland from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Then you have the top anime on the planet, which is Demon Slayer, which is Alex Lee. And then you have the hottest, newest title, Spy Family, which is Natalie Van Sistine. And that's kind of the goal of WasabiCon. We want to make sure that, if you're in your 30s, you know who Naruto is. And if you're 14 years old, you're probably watching Spy Family. We've got that covered across the spectrum at this point.
well, the other thing that I found really interesting in working, we've been working together with this for almost a year, in terms of Folio being involved. You've gone beyond the footprint of the Prime Osborne. I mean, aren't we getting a green across the bridge this year during the event?
We're working on that. Don't know
okay.
if that's going to happen, but those conversations are still happening.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, it's okay. So as far as going outside the scope of Jacksonville, here's what has happened, which has been really, we've been really fortunate, just to say. When we came to visit Jacksonville, and Katie and everybody over there, it's okay. I love telling the story. We came probably about 5 years into the event to visit Jacksonville. So we were WasabiCon at that point, I think like 2016, 2017, 4 to 5 years. And we finally got a meeting with them going, hey, we want to talk to you about WasabiCon. And I sat in a room with the guy who was running the show with me at the time. His guy's name was Ryan. Ryan and I sat in a room with a bunch of people on the staff of Visit Jacksonville, and we explained what this was. Hey, it's a consumer-focused media event. They're called anime cons or comic cons. We're explaining the whole vernacular. And at the end of that, they all stared at me kind of quietly for a second, and they said, so let me get this straight. You're not a sporting event, and you're not a music festival, but you're in Jacksonville, Florida? And I'm like, yes, I know. It makes no sense to us either. We're not sports. We're not a music fest, but trust me, there's something here. And we even knew it because we had the momentum. And at that point, we were kind of in the business of convincing the city that this was real. And that's where I go back to where I said, during that time when we first started, we saw so many businesses open up and grow and expand, whether it's, it could be like, Mythical Mountain or Video Game Rescue, or all these businesses showed up after we'd launched our show. And they were doing successful, just case in point, to the businesses I named, Mythical Mountain and Video Game Rescue, at the beginning of all this were, local startups, little shops, and now they have multiple locations within the Northeast Florida region. So we were able to show, and numbers don't lie, that, hey, this is a thing in Jacksonville, Florida, that is an industry. So the city itself then got involved, and we did all of our application paperwork. We actually have a grant from the city for tourism to help us expand our marketing, because when we had our demographic data for 2019 pre-pandemic, we were able to show, and 2021, we were able to show that a significant percentage of people aren't just from Jacksonville, but we were drawing people from Atlanta, Georgia, Tampa, Florida, Miami, Florida, Orlando, Florida. So people were driving to Jacksonville. And as you know, Jacksonville is an amazing location. It's just kind of the unsung hero of Florida. You think of Florida, you immediately think of, I'm going to party in Miami, or I'm going to a theme park. But there's so much else the state has to offer outside of there. So it was a unique opportunity. We now have, flyers and advertising as far as Atlanta, Georgia, as far down as Miami. We appear at other events and have booths. And that's all because of our partnership with Visit Jacksonville and them seeing the potential of what has now become a hotspot. I mean, another example is WasabiCon isn't the only event in Jacksonville, Florida. We are the largest and the longest running in Jacksonville, but there's a bunch of smaller shows in the region that do show up, and fans go to these all the time. But it just shows that there's a network and a culture in this city that grows it so much. So as far as being outside of Jacksonville for, it's outside of the Prime Osborne, we're not just outside of that building at this point. We're a recognized brand all across the Southeast and further on, to be honest with you. People know the name WasabiCon when you talk to, those within the anime culture at this point.
October 15th and 16th. Tom will be here with WasabiCon, at the Prime Osborne. There are tickets still available for this, but I'm suspicious, Tom, that you need to get on it if you're going to go, because people are getting excited. I'm excited after talking to you. I'm thrilled and proud that you're a Floridian, bringing this to our city. And I got to tell you, the education that you've shown me in the past year has really opened my eyes to this really amazing, amazing group of people.
Yeah, if we had a recent discussion with somebody, and they said something to me on a call that kind of irked me. And we were talking about programming in an event, and I said, well, we have to look at A, B, and C. And their response was, well, we don't care about the attendees. We're looking at this instead. So Green Mustard Entertainment works with Fan Expo. It is the largest Comic-Con provider in North America. And they use the term that everything they do is for the fans. You know what I mean? Everything they say in their quote they use is everything is about the fan experience. And at WasabiCon, when we started WasabiCon and Wasabi Anime in general, we have always used the term that fandom is family. And both of those mindsets blend over heavily into what we try to do with every one of our events. And with WasabiCon, you see and celebrate, which is quite literally, you said, and hopefully we're all going to see in a couple of weeks, the diversity of the fandom, the people that come, the colorfulness of it. Everybody and everything is represented in a positive fashion, because you never know. You might find your next new fandom when you go to an event like this. We call it cross-pollination, which is we're going to bring in a ton of anime fans that don't necessarily know they're tabletop gaming fans yet, but they stumble into that room, they throw a couple of dice, and suddenly they're showing up in a local store playing tabletop games every weekend.
We cannot wait. This is going to be incredible. Tom Kroom, thank you so much for your time this morning. I know you're obviously busy in Canada this weekend. We'll see you on the 15th and 16th. Again, that's at the Prime Osborne. And Folio Weekly is going to give away tickets. We are actually going to do a promotion surrounding the WasabiCon too. So if you really want to go, there's an opportunity there, Tom. Tom, have a great weekend. In the meantime, I'm Rob Nicholson. This is Folio Weekly Magazine, and have a great one.